Hello everybody, welcome back to the X-Plane 11 tutorial learning the 737. Today we're going to be going over the departure phase all the way up to our cruising altitude. So we are here at the end of our runway, or the beginning of our runway 25 right. We are ready for takeoff. If you haven't watched our previous video on getting the plane started and push and start and then taxi to the runway.
On runway 25 right, on runway 25 right.
Yeah. Alright, so on that we are ready to go. We have all of our information checked. We have our lights on. We are squawking Charlie. We have our flap set for takeoff and verified. We have our landing gear is confirmed down 3 green, and we are ready to go. So let's go ahead and start powering the engines forward. We're gonna go 50% on the throttle, so make sure engines are stable. Once we see that the engines are stable, we'll go ahead and release our brakes. And this little button here is our toga button. If you click this button and have auto throttle armed, your auto throttles will take over. And it's going to set your speed for you. Now you don't have to touch the throttles at all. We got to make sure our LNAV is not armed, but that's alright. It'll be able to be armed once we get up in the air, but we're going to be taking off here.
80 knots.
You're going to check. Alright. At VR, rotate, that's when we're going to rotate.
V1, rotate.
Alright, that means we're going to bring the plane back and start getting the plane airborne.
Positive rate.
Alright, once he says positive rate, gear is coming up. So gear is now on its way up. And what we're going to do on your departure, I'm trimming the aircraft right now, so if you guys hear like a scrolling wheel in the back, that's going to be the trim. Now what you guys want to pay attention to is your altitude and your speed, and like I said, auto throttle hitting this button, it will deal with the throttles for you as best it can. So what you want to pay attention to is your altitude, but also want to pay attention to your flight route. So as you can see, we're missing JUTAC, so it's going to start making a left-hand turn for JUTAC. Or JUTAC, however you pronounce that. We're going to make a nice and gentle left turn, and we're going to start getting lined up on the waypoint of JUTAC. Start easily banking out of it. And trim your aircraft. Trim your aircraft to try to maintain your speed. You don't want to pitch up too much. You don't want to pitch down too low because you're not going to make the speed and you're not going to make their altitudes. So JUTAC we're expecting at altitude 8,000 or approximately around there. Alright, once we are on our route, once we are comfortable, once the plane is comfortable, once we are good to go, arm LNAV. If it will let me, I don't think it's going to let us yet for some odd reason. It's actually strange. But we can toss on VNAV, and then, okay, there's LNAV now. I think that's a bug. I didn't put in any hot fixes, so it's probably a bug. So when we put in LNAV, you'll notice that this little pink bar here, this is our speed indicator. This is what our autopilot is tracking for our speed. So the way to turn on your autopilot now is to hit this button here. You want to first make sure you have LNAV or VNAV and LNAV armed. Make sure your auto throttle's armed. Make sure your flight directors are both on. Make sure you have this pink, magenta, purplish line here. So that way your autopilot can track it. What you're going to do is you're going to hit the command button, and you can see the aircraft is now taking over control. And then once you are up to speed, you can start bringing your flaps up nice and slow, or as you see fit. So we're going to keep on bringing our flaps up. You can see the autopilot is automatically putting our speed up as we bring up our flaps. So autopilot is doing everything for us. That is the vertical navigation. Vertical navigation is your climbing speed, and it also handles your actual aircraft speed as well. Lateral navigation controls your left and right movements, your map navigation. So we're going to go ahead and bring our flaps all the way up to 0. And if there is a speed restriction, such as here, this is a speed restriction that your autopilot will follow. As you can see, we're not pushing any further than 250 knots because according to FAA rules, is you cannot exceed 250 knots below 10,000 feet. Once you're above 10,000 feet, you'll see that autopilot will automatically put us up to around 280 knots. So then that, as you can see, the aircraft is following this magenta line. It's going to keep on following it all the way until we turn autopilot off or we change the route or mess it up. Now after your departure, what you want to do is you want to go ahead and toss your gear into the off position, like so. And then once you're also take off, you want to go ahead and set your auto brake to the off position. And now what we want to do is we wait until we reach altitude 10,000 feet. When we reach 10,000 feet, we can get all of our lights off here and our wing lights. And we can also set our engines back to auto. Alright, so we are just now, so we might overshoot a little bit. Now what you can also do is you can also use this knob to increase your pitch, your bank. So the plane could bank more or it could bank less depending on how you want it. So soon we'll cross over this waypoint and then we'll go direct to Firebird. So I think it's already gonna set here, so I'm actually not gonna do that now. You see the plane's now making a right, and there we go. It now went through metal and we're now going to Firebird. So you see autopilot does everything for you on the departure. Alright, we're past 10,000 feet. Once we're past 10,000 feet or coming up on 10,000 feet, we get all of our lights off. Not all of them. You just want to turn off the runway, the landing lights, the turn off lights, and the taxi lights. Say your engine starts back to auto. Go over here, turn your logo lights off, turn your wing light off, and your wheel well lights off.
We have an excellent team on board today, and we are all happy to offer you any assistance you may require throughout the flight.
Let me close that. So, once you're at this stage, do not turn off your anti-collision and do not turn off your position strobe and steady lights. You leave those on at all times. So other than that, we are past 10,000 feet. We're now climbing through 13,000 feet. The next step is to monitor your aircraft systems. Make sure nothing is redlining. Make sure nothing is on fire. Make sure nothing is broken. Once our next step for anything is really at 18,000 feet. Once we're at 18,000 feet, we set our altimeter back to 29902 or to standard, which we would just be doing that by clicking this button. And you do that when you're at your transition altitude of 18,000 feet. So other than that, right now, we just sit back, relax, and enjoy the view. Alright, so as we can see, we are at 18,000 feet. We're actually past 18,000 feet. This box will turn yellow. All you gotta do is hit the STD button for standard, and you can see it sets it to STD. You also notice that an increase or most likely an increase in your altitude, so that's what you want. So now we're on altimeter 29902. And if you want, you can use this option to zoom out. And if you see this bar here, you see this green bar, that's going to help you out. That is where your location altitude wise is going to be. So if you see 31,000 feet here, this green bar is indicating when we will reach 31,000 feet. So if I increase that, you'll notice that that bar moves when I increase it. If I decrease it, you'll notice that it also changes. You can see how it increases and decreases. So it's a huge helper in when trying to figure out when you're going to be expecting your next altitude. I was hitting some rough patch of turbulence here, but that's no biggie. Alright, so let's say if you want to, let's say you want to go direct something. So you see we don't really need to do all of this here. So let's just say we want to go direct to Cibola, Cabola, I don't know. I don't know what that waypoint stands for. You see, we can just make a straight shot if we really wanted to, instead of doing this extra little, instead of, you know, doing that little extra turn. So what we do is we find the waypoint we want to go direct to. We go down here, we find that waypoint, we found it. Copy it by hitting the left button. We'll go down here to our scratch pad, hit the previous page, and replace that. Replace the active waypoint by hitting left. And it'll move everything below Cibola or Cabola, whatever, all the way up. And as you can see here, this dotted line is going to show your path to that waypoint. So if we zoom out a little bit and we hit execute, look at that. Direct waypoint to Cabola or Cibola, or however you pronounce that. The plane will start correcting itself and start getting on the line, and our top of climb is coming up. And that's pretty much how you go direct to a certain waypoint. Pretty easy. Alright, so we are nearing our top of descent, and when you near your top of descent, there's one thing you want to do before you actually get to your top of descent marker, which is the T/D. One thing you want to do is you want to make sure your altitudes at each and every waypoint are set properly. And the way to do that is to check your charts. Remember, aircharts.org is 100% free, and it has up-to-date charts on your departures and arrivals in airport, everything you could think of. Or you could subscribe to Navigraph if you are willing to put some money into it. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to check Karma. So let's go ahead and check Karma on my charts. Alright, so Karma doesn't have an altitude restriction, but Sophie does. If you look, it says flight level 260E, flight level 240A. Now if we go down here to here, it'll say the same thing. Now, what this means is you have to be either below flight level 260 at this waypoint, or above flight level 240. So you have to be either below or above these two altitudes. So if you're too high, you're probably going to get in trouble by ATC realistic. If you're too low, you're probably going to get in trouble by ATC as well for not following the proper arrival. So we are going to do what I always do is I always set the lowest altitude allowed on this waypoint. So I will set, and the way to change this is to set the /240 for flight level 240. Pop that there, and you can see it sets flight level 240, and it's probably going to change our top of descent. Yep, you see our top of descent is now closer because we have more to descend. Now, before you get to your top of descent, you want to set your altitude down. And you can set it to as low as you want. You can set it as low as you want, and your aircraft will still follow what's put here in the FMC as long as everything is correct. So again, we're going to go through, make sure our charts are correct according to our FMC, and we're going to set our lowest altitudes in our FMC. So again, /190. Set. Execute. Alright, next waypoint. 120 /120. Set. Execute. Jack 10,000 /100. Set. Execute. Next page. Alright, and then the rest should be pretty good. The rest is actually pretty good. So now, look at this. This new arrow has showed up. This is what your plane is going to follow. Your plane is going to try to get this purple magenta arrow and try to maintain it right here. So your plane might go into a little bit of a descent, but as long as your plane is maintaining speed, your plane is going to try to match with this magenta arrow. So that's a good sign. And now as you can see, our plane is not going for 2,500. It's not nose diving. It's actually going for this altitude right there. As you can see, it is highlighted in a magenta color. So that means that it is trying to bring us down to flight level 240. Or more or less probably this here, but this one is highlighted, so it's bringing us down to 240. And as you can also see on here on the display, top descent, flight level 240. So now, as you can see, remember this is our descent rate. So this is how much feet per minute we're descending. As you can see, remember, if you guys remember or saw or probably replay or watch back, we were at 3,000 something. Now we're at 2,000 because, again, look at this, the magenta arrow. Remember, like I told you, the autopilot is going to try to keep that magenta arrow online with this bar here. It will try its best. So if this bar is below the magenta arrow, that means we are below our descent rate. If the magenta arrow is below that bar, that means we're above our descent rate, which means the plane is going to try to pitch down more to try to get on that magenta arrow. So that means we're all good to go. So the plane is now descending. We're descending through 5,000 feet for 24,000 feet. We're on a good descent rate. The magenta arrow is looking good. Speed is looking good. You can see our auto throttles are doing its job as to trying to slow us down, keep us at 290 knots. And everything is looking good. But at this point in time, we are on what's called the arrival. We are now on the star. So as we are on the star, we're going to track and monitor to make sure everything is okay. Again, checking our FMS or FMC, just making sure everything is okay. Alright, so as you can see, we are past flight level 240 and we're going down to 190. As stated in our FMC, once again, it is highlighted in magenta, showing us that the plane is targeting that flight level and not what we put in here. So if we did not change the altitude in this knob, the plane would have never descended because it's still trying to target us at 31,000 feet. So you always want to make sure you change the altitude on this down to like 2,500 or something. And we'll probably end up changing this later, but that'll be on our approach. That's going to be a different tutorial. So when you're on your descent, this is when you want to start checking charts, checking winds, checking the ATIS if you're, again, on VATSIM or whatever, I mean, if you're just learning this aircraft, you probably don't want to be on VATSIM, but future reference, this is when you would start checking ATISes and weather, the airport charts, winds, whatever you may have it. So we're going to continue with landing on runway 27, so we already know we had the localizer set, and hopefully the glide slope will be established, that way I can show you the ILS approach. Hopefully the glide slope will work for this airport. So at this time, we have our ATIS, we have our information, we now are getting ready to head up to 18,000. Remember how on our departure we had to set our altimeter to standard STD. So now what we need to do is you need to get the meter information, the METAR information for your arrival airport, and you need to set that in your altimeter or your barometric meter up here. So the San Diego altimeter is 29083. So we're going to set it there, and you can see it still sets the standard for us. And you can see we're just now passing 19,000 feet. It's letting us at 19,000 feet. Now we're going for 12,000 at helix. You see that magenta arrow is coming back, and the plane is going to match us on the magenta arrow. So another example of that. So we're not at 18,000 yet, but you can see we're still on standard mode. We have our altimeter set to 29083, ready to click that button and take it off standard mode. So the plane is now once again descending. And now one thing also, you also notice this decel here. This means deaccelerate. So when we hit that mark, that's when the plane is going to start slowing down for 270 knots. As you can see, it is not set. So our speed is still set to 290. Once we hit that decel point, the plane's going to start deaccelerating to 270 knots. So now we're past 18,000 feet. If we hit STD, as you can see, it now puts us on altimeter 2983. And we are descending ever closer to San Diego. Now, just to get an early head start, just to get this ready, this is how you set the ILS information. We're going to go and do that now. So while our plane is descending, everything checks in. We're going to do our, what I would say our descent, our arrival checklist, or descent checklist. So we're going to go down here. We're going to go to the nav mode. So the nav mode is where your frequency is. It's going to get the information from that, and this is how you get your ILS frequency. So the ILS frequency for ILS, or for I guess localizer runway 27, the localizer frequency is 110.9. So 110.9. You're going to hit this button, make sure it's in the left option, or the left box. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go up here to the course, and you're going to set the course to the course given from your charts. As for San Diego, it's going to be 275. I'm going to set this to 275. And that is your ILS approach set. That is all you have to do to prepare your ILS approach. So we're going to be continuing our descent. Before we get to Lucky, that's where I'm going to end this episode, and then we're going to go into the third episode and the last episode for the 737-800 for the approach. So once we hit Lucky, we're then going to be on the initial approach into San Diego. So we're continuing our descent. Now remember, like what I said earlier, as you can see, we're now decelling. The plane is trying to decel for 270 knots, and at this point you might have to pull a little bit of speed brake out, and that's fine. You can pull some speed brake out when you're in the air. If you want to follow realistic rules, flight rules, then you cannot be over 250 knots above 10,000 feet. Alright guys, I am back. I'm sorry, there was a sudden break in recording. We're here paused at altitude 8,000 feet. As you guys heard me, was setting up the ILS, and then the restriction of 250 knots above 10,000 feet. So as you see, we're at 240 knots at almost 8,000 feet. We're going to be continuing. So I'm still going to stop the episode right before Lucky. We're just now coming up on the Aztec, then Jeeves, then Lucky, and then we'll pause the episode at Lucky for our approach. We have our ILS set at 275 for our course, and 110.9er for our ILS frequency. So here we are coming into San Diego, still on our descent. Let's go ahead and continue. I don't remember what I all talked about from the 13,000 feet mark that we were at until now, but for the most part we're still on a descent path. Everything's still looking good. Plane's still descending as it's supposed to. Our speeds are slowing down as it's supposed to. My sim is freezing. There we go. Probably loading in a lot of weather or something. I don't know. So we're going 6,100. Now at this point, we can go ahead and get our auto brake armed. Our auto brake is set. And at this time, if we don't need the speed brake anymore, just pull it up gently to where it snaps, and this comes into this turns green. Once speed brake is armed, turn green. You want to make sure speed brake is armed. But now we are ready for our. Pretty much you do this on your approach checklist or before landing checklist. So you make sure it's armed. And then San Diego, we could do auto brakes of 2. We'll do auto brakes of 2. Alright, so Kane is at 36,000 feet, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set this to 36,000 feet. Just that we have it matching. Alright, so as I said, you can always use your checklist if you want to follow along as well. You can go through these checklists. They are very well detailed checklists. They also have things like this. You could check box some things and so on and so forth if you guys are getting lost. If you guys are in an actual flight and following along with me right now. So we're coming down to 6,100. We're almost there. Speed needs to come back a lot, so we're going to go ahead and pull some more speed brake. The biggest thing is on your approach is you want to make sure your speed is good. Speed is going to be everything on your approach. So you want to make sure your speed is doing good. Alright guys, and this is where I'm going to end off the episode. On the next episode, we'll go ahead and start the approach phase. So other than that guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys are learning. Hopefully I went through everything as best as I can. I'm trying to simplify these things and make everything easy and simple. And the things that you need to worry about rather than the small things. The small things you guys can learn in your own time, such as the realism, you know, the correct numbers for everything and the correct everything if you guys would be more technical. This is just a basic tutorial on how to get from point A to point B with things to do on your own instead of having like a Control-E hotkey to start everything for you. This is where you can flip all the switches yourself, flip all the knobs yourself, get your route in yourself, fly there yourself, put your autopilot in yourself, land yourself, ILS, everything. If you guys want to learn technical numbers and start times and alignment times and all that stuff, I'm not going to be teaching that. This is just how to get from point A to point B with the fairly realistic system rather than, you know, Control-E to start engines and everything for you. So, and that guys, hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.